Hello, greetings and welcome everybody. This is Dave Darrington, your host for Working Out Loud. And hey, we got a special show. I hope you're tuning in today. We've got, first off, we've got Ryan Dillon. We're going to be talking with him. And then we have a Friday ensemble of the greatest cast of customer education folks. This is going to be fun. We're going to have our first debate and live talk, and we're going to close out a Friday with a whole lot of fun. All right, let's get going here. All right, to set the stage, what's this show about? This show has always been about not just learning about new B2B SaaS and B2C SaaS technology, the software that you're not hearing about until you have to hear about it and then learn it. But we're going to flip the table, flip the script, today, we're going to talk about some challenges we have in the space with these software apps. And my philosophy is that if you're not learning, you are churning, right? If you don't know how to use an app and it's too hard, you give up. We're going to talk with these folks today about the fun involved in learning new technologies. And in particular today, I'm going to go ahead and bring Ryan in. So, how am I going to do this? This is an experiment today. This is the first time I've done a show with, there's everybody. I want to be able to, I'm just going to put Ryan on. Ryan, welcome here. Welcome to the show. I'm going to pull my name off here and just let you talk and intro yourself for a minute without me on the screen.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself, and I'm going to make it easy for you and facilitate this a little bit. I want to learn two things from you. First off, let's talk about you. Let's talk about hot takes, because that's kind of like the new thing. And then let's talk about this discussion that we've all been having on the internet, on LinkedIn, which I'm going to let you tee up. So you got the stage, my friend. Go.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Dillon. I work at Thought Industries, but as Dave mentioned, just launched a new customer education show, a video interview show called Hot Takes, where I interview customer education experts as they eat increasingly spicier wings. So please do check it out. And we have episodes every 2 weeks. And my first guest on that episode was Dave Darrington, the only.
Yeah, thanks, man. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
It was great. It was pretty spicy. And we asked a lot of great questions, and Dave provided a lot of hot takes. And one of them was based around where education should be managed and how it should roll up under an organization, and the debate between whether or not, and I'm trying to think of the word, it's not all education teams or all different kind of departments of education, whether or not they should roll up under one umbrella. And, Dave, you could share a little bit of your specific take, but we began to, kind of riff on the fact that it should kind of all align under one umbrella.
Okay. Yeah. When I have your post up here and I was looking at it again, and when you posted this, it really resonated with me. See, I don't know. I'm going to bring everybody in now. And I'm going to add as well Mr. Tyler Foster to the screen. Hello, everybody. I'm just making this easy for myself. Like I'm new to this platform, so I love to work out loud and try new things live. So if I make mistakes, fine. Okay, yeah, everybody. So here's the thing that we're talking about today. Pardon me, still a little congestion today. I got the allergies in the air here in Washington. We all live every day in this stew of how do we build education for our customers, and we're trying to do that at scale, and we're trying to do a really good job. But we're working in this environment where we've got all kinds of things going on. You've got other teams doing similar work to you. You've got an HR team that might have an L&D group, or they're doing compliance training, or they're trying to help talent development. You've got enablement teams that come up and grow and parallel to you, but sometimes you might not talk to them. Right? They might be doing something, and you might have an experience like I have in the past, which is like, oh, you're doing training on product too? Wait, why aren't you using my stuff? Or am I not using your stuff? You have this duplication of effort. And this is a natural phenomenon. The thing I want to tell everybody is a natural phenomenon. As companies grow and evolve and develop, you've got this kind of a problem, right? Because we're working at the speed of light. So again, to your point, and this is where I'd like to bring in everybody, and like, let's start going round robin. And first off, what I think would be fun is introduce yourself. I'll give you the stage, 30 seconds, go. Talk about how you feel about this. And then we'll go round once. We'll see where we're at. We'll come up with another topic. If we decide we want to do anything else, round robin is fun. All right.
Hey, Dave, can we duplicate efforts here and like you're talking about and remove this banner from Ryan's face?
Yeah, you see me here. I'm gonna put you're talking now. Okay. I tried to get fancy.
Also, I'll just promote the fact that all of these lovely faces are on the wheel of flame and have come up on episodes of Hot Takes. Brian Childs will be coming soon, but every single one of you are all stars and conquered the wheel of flame. So this is going to be a great hot take.
Who was able to handle the heat the best? I want to know who handled the heat.
Not you, Melissa. Not you.
Yeah, now I'm like, if everybody's been through it, I'm like super concerned. I'm like, okay, so everybody survived. That's good. But yes,
Melissa, I can say you did not handle it the best. MTRs were pretty darn good. You made me feel bad about myself. Yeah, I was sweating, and he was like, "Is this hot sauce or what?"
Okay, so no one else cried. All right.
I've been using some lately, and I have to put a little bit extra on to get the extra spice, Ryan.
Wow,
but
just
it's good stuff, man.
The champion. Just like, yeah, I don't know. Just get gold medals. Just I don't know. I don't even try it.
I don't mean to derail it. So Dave, we'll kick it off. Maybe you want to do a round and around the horn.
Yeah, let's go around the horn. And Melissa, I think you needed to leave a little bit early. Do you want to lead us off and take a stab here? I'm going to give you a minute and the stage, and you can talk about what you think. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, I love this. I'm so happy to get together with peers in the space, and I love chatting. So thanks for having me. For those of you that don't know me, Melissa Van Pelt, I lead our customer education, community, digital engagement, advocacy programs at Seismic Software. And so you want me to just kind of dive into my thoughts? It's kind of a lot.
Well, yeah, please. This is a freaky customer education Friday where we're just rapping about our jobs and our passions and our plights, you know? So okay. Yeah. Cool. Tell us what you think, just off the
What do I think? Okay. So I am just going to give some context. My organization presently and historically has sat within the customer success organization. So rolling up to our chief customer officer. And I am incredibly passionate and about the customer experience, post-sale customer experience, how we drive consistent and engaging learning experiences and engagement experiences with our customers across their life cycle and journey with us. So for me, I don't think it's so much about where does all of these things need to live. I think more importantly, it's how do we deliver like a consistent sequence of experiences, right? That consistently reinforces, our business's commitment to our customers, right? So thoroughly understanding our customers' needs, whether their learning needs, their engagement needs, how they want to interact with us, how they want to interact with their peers of practitioners, and create, again, like coordinated, targeted experiences across the customer lifecycle in a way that is meaningful and drives value for our customers. So from my lens, when we think about today, right, in the customer success world and customer success managers and customer marketing and education, driving the programs and the activities that are happening. And if we're being honest, I think many businesses probably experience this pain. There's a lot of, as you mentioned, Dave, like stepping on toes and a lot of different things happening that are not coordinated. And what ultimately is happening is it's creating a confusing experience for customers, right? You got CSMs doing stuff and doing outreach. You might have marketing doing outreach. You might have the education team trying to drive programs, you have event teams trying to drive events. So how do we create more of a consistent presence, a consistent voice? How do we drive a learning experience? Like the way that I look at it is learning is not just like e-learning, product training in your university or your academy, right? Learning is like all of those ongoing opportunities for a customer.
Exactly.
Whether it's formal learning and structured learning, whether it's social learning, whether it is learning through in-app support and help, whether it's user groups, peer-to-peer learning, whether it's learning from workshops, use case workshops, driving value, right? It's an interesting blend between learning and marketing. And if you can create really, really consistent and seamless and fully integrated, coordinated experience for customers, you're doing things well. But that's really, really challenging.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's. I mean, we're talking about you talked about this landscape of all these different things, but you were saying that the experience, we need to give that experience to the customers. And that's where, well, okay, who wants to go next and talk about that? Maybe we can build on that theme. Anyone to volunteer?
I'll go next.
Yeah. All right, David, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll keep going.
You got it. So my name is David Guillen. I am the Director of Education and Enablement at a software company called TraceGains. And my background, it comes from formal instruction, right? I come from the scrappiest schools you can think of in faculty positions on the admin side. I served at the board level. And so when I entered tech for the first time, I had to kind of dip back to my roots, which in education, you beg, borrow, and steal. Your lesson plans, your ideas, whatever you can get your hands on from other teachers, because that's the only way schools are going to be successful, particularly when you're serving underrepresented groups. So when I showed up in tech and there were silos, I quickly discovered that education as a team initially can really be a wrecking ball to just smash these silos down, because there's no time for silos. My little quick platform is I'm absolutely under, the belief that education needs to be its own force. And I think that's reflective of the company's culture. I am so lucky to work for a company that values education and invested in it quickly, not like so many of our other colleagues that have to on a daily basis justify what they're doing and have to go and request all of this stuff years after their program kicks off. So that's my shtick. I say education will smash down these silos.
Hey, and Dave, both Davids, it's such a great point. I think one of the things that I wanted to also clarify, because I got feedback actually from Daniel Quick, who commented on the post with an opposite take, because when I said like HR, enablement, and customer ed should all fall under the same umbrella, I didn't want to interpret it as they should all have the same technologies and they should all work inside the same tech space. For me, I think that it's more about making sure that they all have a voice to be able to do what's best for them, but all under the same kind of guidance of a C-suite leader. So, what I wouldn't want to occur is a battle in which basically internally you have to fight as to who's the favorite or who you believe is the most important. And that person or that group gets to adopt the technology that's right for them and then force everybody else into it. And this happens at big companies and small companies, oftentimes a lot more at small companies. But the thing that I just wanted to point out was, I believe it should all fall under the same umbrella, but I definitely believe, for instance, HR technologies need to be different than your customer education or sales enablement technologies. So that was one of the things that was taken from my hot take. I just wanted to clarify and get your thoughts on.
I think it's a really good point, right? customer facing systems are, we have very different requirements for our external audiences, right? In an LMS tool versus an internal readiness or internal, LMS system. So I just think, yeah, I agree with you. It does not, we don't have to fight over trying to consolidate onto one system or tool. We just need to advocate for our requirements, business requirements, program requirements to best meet our learners' needs, right? That should be the forefront, like, of everyone's mind. How are we meeting our learners' needs and creating the most effective learning experience through systems, process, tools, all of that stuff?
Where I think there's some alignment could be craft. So if you have instructional designers in different sides of the house in your organization, you're going to be knowing that like their ability to create education, while they may maybe have expertise in a different kind of subject matter depending on where they are. Also, Clementine.
Welcome to your dog. Making an entrance. That's fun.
She heard my voice, so she probably was like, "Oh, what's Dad doing?" I think that when you can start to align those crafts, and then you think about the efficiencies between different parts of the organization, like there's an opportunity there that my hunch is that folks are probably not tapping into as best as they could when we have folks doing the same kind of work. And also when you think about the content that's produced, if there's a great way to, I'm sure some companies do this and some probably need to, but thinking about like where your content is going to live, is that in a central place, whether it's for an external or internal audience? If it's not, then how do you even know what's available? So like, what's the catalog of education that's out there? Is there that central repository in your organization? Figuring that out could be a good step to be like, now I know where all of my efforts have been focused and maybe where we need to go.
I do think too, like you need to take into consideration, at what stage of growth is this program? So if I'm just starting out, I'm going to have a really tough battle saying, hey, I need to build an organization. I need to be able to make a case for maybe having a seat at the table, like Ryan's saying, but make more of a case for shared resources at the beginning and when I'm building a program. So definitely wouldn't say go step on the landmine of trying to sell the idea of, hey, we need to build this brand new organization all under one umbrella. But I would say that's a great goal to shoot for down the road. And go find those shared resources, go find those instructional designers and SMEs that can help you. So
I wanted to jump in and I kind of wanted to build off of something that David, you had said, and I think kind of speaking a little bit to Melissa's. One of the things I really like about your approach, Melissa, and you say this in different contexts, is kind of like this focus on a coordinated experience for customers, and I really love that. And then I also like David's statement about like the wrecking ball. I might say that like the wrecking ball exists already, and that what we do is we kind of channel it, and that wrecking ball or bunker buster, whatever, is the customer, right? It's like it's their path. Like the silos are something that we as organizations build. There's a natural process flow that exists though, and that process flow is the customer experience and the customer's journey through all of our different silos. Yeah. And one of the things that I do with organizations is try to help them reorient their perspective to making the customer the center of all these actions, because like the Earth-centric view of the solar system, there's all kinds of retrograde motion, and it doesn't make any sense, right? But it's like as soon as you put the sun at the center of it, all of a sudden, like everything gets circular and beautiful. And I think that same kind of activity, like the confusion and what's going on with this customer, why is it broken? When you put the customer at the center of it, an elegance shows up of like, how are we actually interacting with them, where the drop operates, and all of a sudden, like multiple different parts of the organization are like, oh, the KPI is adoption, or the KPI is completion of onboarding, or the KPI is some aspect of the funnel. But it's like you put the customer there and the elegance shows up, and the inefficiencies of delivering on that elegance become a lot more apparent. And again, in MVP, I'd say that like the way that you describe it, I think your experience with it, because of the ownership that you have across many of these different touch points, is like you have such a great view on it because you can see how the organization around you or the organizations that are in support of you do or do not align to the natural KPIs associated with a learner or customer in the given stage that they are.
You know, I want to say something here. First off, you're so evocative of like, I think, Brian, you were giving me trouble for being a geek the other day. This is such a geek out moment. I love it. Thank
I
you.
mean, if I talked about space, I'd get Dave thinking.
I like, no, I think you just said something. I want to connect a couple ideas. So one of the ideas that I've been talking about on my feed is documentation is like a map. Product builds this map, and documentation kind of naturally fits in with that because we've got to fill in the gaps. Then education layers on the GPS, right? And kind of what you're talking about here, this whole idea of the sun. Let's go back to Galilean times where, you know, everybody's like, oh, we got to make all these sophisticated models and squeeze the science out just because of our ideology. So we made these contraptions that just looked insane. Once we said the sun is the center of the solar system and the earth goes around it, okay? What that means to me is why we call this field customer education. The sun is the customer. We're in orbit around the customer, right? Not the other way. And we have to serve them on a calendrical, cyclical thing. We're going around the sun. And what we try to do in the business world is we try to make the customer fit to our world, right? We're not interacting with them as much. And the further removed you get from that, and here's what I'm talking about. The L&D teams and internal enablement teams tend to get pushed away from the sun, right? They're inside working on our team, not having the same friction every single day. So Ryan, coming back to your idea, let's look at all of these as, you know, the other thing is I was thinking of, you're talking, Melissa, like, Melissa, you have this fortunate role of being in that position as kind of the high priestess of customer education for your world, because you're seeing all the things. Like, you've got community, you've got enablement, you've got education, and it just makes sense how we do that. Okay, I'm going to shut up. So we haven't heard from a couple of you. What would you think? Let's continue to riff.
I'd love to jump in.
Sorry, I don't want to.
David, you're next.
Comment on two things. That I think are so critical, and that you said and everyone has said. There is educational products that we are building, right? That are educating our customers. That's all of the ILTs, e-learning, whatever it may be, workshops. But there's also the people resources that are educating our customers, right? And that does start pre-sale. And so, you know, you talk about enablement and their content and customer education and our content and having a central repository, right? Critical that the content is speaking the same language, because whatever's being said to customers pre-sale, we have to deliver on it post-sale, right? So how are we creating learning for the people that are talking to customers that is consistent with the learning that we're creating when customers are implementing and using our products, right? That's the first, like, important, I think, thing that you said around content management. But again, for enablement and customer education, it is bridging the gap around, are our educational products consistent with our people that are educating customers? And that is going to create, that's just a first step into creating a customer experience. So sorry, someone else take the mic, but I just thought that was so important.
Mike, you wanna jump in on that now?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'll just repeat what Melissa said, but like a little bit worse, maybe.
Self-deprecation for the win.
Michael.
Hey, Mike, introduce yourself for a second. I don't think you've done that yet.
Absolutely. So Mike D from Top Hat. I'm the director of professional services and client onboarding at Top Hat. And for those of you who don't know what Top Hat is, we're an education tech company specifically serving higher ed. So I've been with them for a while now. And so I want to tie together a couple themes and threads I've been hearing in some of the answers, because customer education, and specifically me, have lived under a few different leaders. So I've done enablement under a VP of CS. I've been in the enablement org beside operations under a VP of sales a couple times, rolling up to a chief revenue officer. I'm back now sort of underneath a VP of CS, again, rolling up to a chief revenue officer. But like all along the way, we've always orbited around the sun, and like it didn't really matter. So like where I reported, like making sure that the customer voice was being injected into conversations, and that everything we were building ultimately was serving a key need. And there was, a strategy behind it, and we had a virtual team, et cetera, because education was happening in lots of places. Like that was always the constant. So to Melissa, to your last point, the thing that we built that has like lasted the longest internally is like the very first part of our user certification is to this day something all new hires at Top Hat have to go through and gets part of their new hire onboarding package. So like from the very first, you need to understand how to speak to a core value prop of both our product, but also understand our customers' world. And so it's literally a foundation of the Top Hat learning experience that you experience part of the Top Hat user certification. It's exactly what our customers experience. And so that's how we've tried to tie it together. And I've also found, and I don't know if others have also had this experience, but when you build something that's really great for customers, it ends up being really great internally at the same time. And there's a lot of mileage that way. And it's like, like their customers truly delight, let them light the way for you. You'll never go wrong. And so then like I've also never really worried too much about where like customer ed lives. Like as long as there's like good collaborating or breaking down the silos, you sort of know what everybody's doing all along the way. It tends to work out all right.
Mike, on your team, Mike, or in your org, who does it benefit the most, do you think? Like who comes to you and says, "Oh, that's great. Can we kind of capitalize off of that content?"
The marketing, to be honest with you.
Marketing.
So that's been the most productive relationship. And I think once I will like kudos and shout out to my marketing folks, because I have been very lucky at Top Hat to work with a lot of customer education minded marketers, and they've all been like such good collaborators. And so we've never had to struggle building that bridge. So
yeah.
Wait, okay. I want to riff on this a little bit and go round robin with an activity.
Wait, did you freeze him, Dave?
No.
Is that what just happened? Okay.
No, I didn't. I froze him.
Like,
no, I don't have that kind of God power.
Punished.
And Michael was just like,
oh no, what's going on?
Oh yeah,
okay,
should we all do the thing we talked about where we all freeze and make Dave think the thing is glitched?
Yeah. Sorry, Mike.
Sorry, I'm back.
Yeah.
Internet.
Dave was tired of that, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's a quick question though. Like on the positive, Mike, you did a great job with that. And actually, I like the fact that you pointed out who's the team that you work with the most. For me, one of the best relationships I've had was with product marketing, where we were kind of in this cycle. And I have to give a shout out to one of my former teammates, Karen Byorth, who made a really tight connection with the product and product marketing teams. And that tightness there, because she was looking outbound and seeing what kind of trainings were working and reporting that back in, and they were giving us this great feedback. And it was just this virtuous circle of information. And that made it so easy for us to collaborate. And then other teams are like piling on that. They're like, wait, you have the lifeline to product. And they're like, can we collaborate with you and like get in on those meetings? And we're like, yeah, we started to see a sharing happening where you weren't before. We were seeing a lot of, okay, the enablement team, like we had 3 separate enablement teams, our team, our trainers, some other people, and we'd all pile on this poor subject matter expert or a product marketing person or a product manager. And they're like, oh, I can't, let's channel this activity. So all of you, like, let's go around. I'm seeing Dave first. Why don't we just take just a couple, like less than a minute, like seconds, say who's the best team that you've worked with and collaborated with?
Sorry, you say I'm going first?
Yeah, you go first. I'm just picking.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I think just to clarify too, my analogy with the wrecking ball, there's nothing elegant about a wrecking ball. However, there is elegance around being able to establish these critical relationships, and that is kind of the major skill set of, I believe, education teams. So the team that we work best with, we grew within CS. So those are our roots, right? CSMs, our support team, our implementation teams. I mean, we're all one big happy family, but outside of that group, I do have to say that we've grown really close with the products team. And let me tell you, that relationship is so valuable because they have toys that are fun to play with.
Data toys?
Data toys.
Product telemetry. I got to say that.
Yes.
Okay, MTS, why don't you go next?
Yeah, absolutely. And just let me caveat it with I'm just hit my 3-month mark here at Shopify, so still feeling pretty new to the giant organization. I would say that there's probably 2. Can I do 2? Is that cheating?
Yeah, do 2. Go for it.
All right.
This is more informal. This is just us.
Yeah. I would say that there's a deep connection with product marketers. That definitely traditionally has been the case here, and so I see that connection being extremely fruitful. And then since I've been here, there's been a lot of collaboration with the CSM folks, and so there's a CSM enablement, and like there's a pretty great connection there. And so that I think those 2 really stand out to me. Although we're like we're figuring things out, and this conversation is like exactly the space we're in, because there's a lot of education teams and a lot going on at Shopify to like bring together, and so it's really a fun time. And so I would say, yeah, sorry I cheated, but those are the 2.
No worries. Ryan, I see you next on my list.
Sure.
That's wrong. We're keeping you on your toes here.
I'm going to pass on this one because I'm not in the customer education. I'm not managing a team, so I haven't worked. But I think,
I said brought it up. Do it from the outside coming in. In.
I think product marketing is an amazing bridge between enablement and customer experience and customer education, because they are providing the same knowledge, theme, messaging, guidance, and outcome hopes for both the internal folks as well as for the customers. I would love, after we do a round robin, I'd love to jump into a conversation that Debbie and Michelle and Kevin are having in the comments, but that'll be my take on that, on the department.
Cool. All right. Melissa.
Yeah. So our best partner is actually our implementation delivery team. And I feel very strongly that the implementation delivery team are truly SMEs, right, for us, because they take what the product is proposing, the product organization, product marketing team is proposing, these value props and how customers should be using our product, but they're seeing it, living it, and breathing it in practice, day in and day out. So for us, they're our first point of contact when we're trying to build education. And I will caveat that with, we've been heavily focused for the last couple years on really building learning for onboarding and implementation, right? And so again, that's why they're so critical to our success, because they're really they have a deep understanding of how customers are using the product. I think as we shift to figure out, how to help and support marketing, drive value and upsell and cross-sell, we will need to bridge the gap with marketing much more tightly than we have today.
Agreed. Okay. Mike, you're up.
Sure. So I know I shouted out my marketing folks. The product team has been just as collaborative as well, and I cherish every one-on-one I have in my calendar with a product manager, because we really focus in those conversations on making the customer voice heard, like at the ideation phase of new products and updates to part of our platform, and it's super important. And I know, like, reflecting on the time here, I've seen it. Just like seeing the best practices that we want to train on and like weave into our education resources, those come to life in the product now. So I'd recommend that. I know it's not hot takes, but I would throw out there that it's kind of interesting. None of us have said the exec team is like as maybe a separate team that you want to work with directly. And I at least I've always tried to understand all of their, their pillars, their orgs, and what they work with, and certainly our exec team functions like a team on its own. And so I like the more that you can get them on your side as well, and understand what's really driving them and the functions they oversee. I think that's super important. But I offer this without a splash of the original Reaper hot sauce.
Oh, I have to say, I know something that was hilarious, Mike, and kind of ripping on the Reaper. I was watching this new company called Mountain, MNTN, that Ryan Reynolds is the chief creative officer for, and the commercials they make are just stellar. So right on the tails of Ryan, your hot takes, I see this ad from them. It's Ryan and Steve-O, right? Steve-O from Jackass, and it was beautiful how he did it because they're friends. But he's like, Steve-O wanted to promote his TV show, and to do it, Ryan set this thing up. It's like, okay, Steve-O is going to promote it while eating a Reaper. And the guy's just, I don't know whether it was faked or not. It didn't look fake the way he was like, but like, I'm like,
don't worry, none of the sauces.
Brian, you're next.
Don't worry, Brian. It's not going to be that bad. Don't worry.
I don't trust you, man. I just don't.
All right,
what's
Seg back in. Seg back in, Brian. Your turn now, man.
Yeah. So I'll kind of answer this in a couple of different ways. So I'll use the example of the program that I built at Moz, which is mid-market, was kind of like a mid-market SaaS business with a fairly complex product. In the early phases, like the big collaborators that I had were the business intelligence team and the payments and finance team. And the reason that those were my early collaborators is because I was the team of one. And what I wanted to have was I wanted to know what was working really fast. I was also selling. I started from You started from selling? Yeah, I started the whole thing with it's revenue based. We're trying to grow revenue and trying to grow customer lifetime value. So BI gave me a quick understanding of what was the impact, right? Because I wanted to get advocacy for it. And then the payments and finance people were so integral to the success of it because I had to get them. They were excited about making money, and they also were critical to making the systems that I got connect together. Yeah, so they were into that. After that phase, the collaboration that I had really turned more into product and sales, right? So I was basically trying to work with the product organization to understand what's coming, make sure that we could train on that and the concepts related to whatever was coming, and the sales organization so that they could both understand that product capability, but also help me generate demand for the training program that I had. And in the gap between product and sales, guess what exists between that is product marketing, right? And so at the time, we didn't really have product marketing. And so like many mid-market organizations, I believe, the training team sort of became product marketing, right? It's we were doing sales enablement, we were doing content development, which can be sort of a morass. But so I'd say early was BI and the payments and finance people. Mid was probably more the product and sales people were my big collaborators. And then I started becoming the product marketing person until product marketing kind of originated in that organization. And they became big collaborators as well because they were we were sharing responsibility for some of those activities.
That's good. One other thing I wanted to pop in there with is, and I don't remember who it was. I asked, well, who do you think is the most impactful team or resource in for customer education? And somebody told me FP&A. Go talk to the financial planning folks first. And why would I want to do that? But then I started to think about it because then you're really starting to do. Maybe this was Bill Cushard. I can't. Whoever it was, correct me, and I'll put your name in the in the attribution here. But because I talked to so many people, but I thought that was unique. And you're talking from a sales perspective. That's really interesting because if you come in your org and say, I remember coming into outreach and I'd ask my senior leadership, well, if you could pick one or two initiatives or focuses for me, what would it be? And they said, look, I don't care about the money. I don't care about all. I want you to build a world-class education team at scale with on-demand resources. Done. But he didn't mention money. But you're coming in and you're saying, let's focus on that. So it really varies widely depending on who you are and where you're at culturally, right?
Yeah. It's a fire triangle, right? It's like you got to have the thing.
Triangle.
You got to have the thing that you're selling. You have to have an audience for it, and you have to have some way to catch sparks, which is like really their transaction. If you don't have a means to transact, and that's whether or not it's free or not, you need to have like some transactional element. And finance are the ones, and BI are the ones that can like make that connection for you between the systems that need to go together and the measurement of what's successful and MVP your way into it. So it's like I go to them at the beginning if I was to start it all over again. It'd be key.
Wow.
Can I bring something up from the comments real quick? From the
please do. We're not paying too much attention yet.
No, yeah. So I saw it was a conversation around like aligning even HR enablement and customer ed under one umbrella. And Debbie Smith had brought up the perspective of having different outcomes and goals. And Michelle Wiedemeyer brought in, if you segment them out, you're going to create silos. At some point, you're going, even if, for instance, my analogy would be that, a CEO, for instance, is hired to a company just because they have great marketing skill sets doesn't mean that they're also not really focused on all of the other avenues of a business, right? So you have to be able to create an education leader that although their skill set might be in HR or might be in enablement or might be in customer ed, that you're hiring to have this kind of holistic view on education overall and advance it. So like my connection is sales and marketing, they're under the same umbrella a lot of the times at organizations. They use a lot of different technologies. HubSpot versus Salesforce, they use a lot of different skill sets. They are leveraging different content creators for, enterprise sales versus lead generation or demand generation, but they're all, they'll roll up oftentimes under the same leader. So in my mind, just because you have HR, which has totally different goals than customer education, if you have them separated by different C-suites, then they'll always be in competition. And I feel like they'll also always be in silos because that leader will be hiring resources to do X, Y, and Z, while at the same time, the other leader will do the same thing. So you might have, a bunch of different duplicate efforts, but you still might use different technologies. So I think there's resources in there that you could collaborate with, like human resources, but also have different technologies to support the specific goals and outcomes of each unit. That would be kind of like my overall mantra is it still has to lead this one unified person that is pushing education at all fronts and respects every goal and outcome for what it is and doesn't try and sacrifice education needs to be all underneath this one thing. But like, no, but because then you're sacrificing either the integrity of HR or the integrity of your customer education or your integrity of your enablement. So that's to me, I think like such an interesting way to look at this is, should they be under the same leader or not?
That's interesting. Okay.
I like that perspective though around like business objectives, right? Like when you think about internal enablement, what is the overarching business objective? They're trying to set sales and marketing up for success to drive leads, drive new customers, drive revenue, right? When you're thinking about customer education and driving retention, renewal, product adoption, right? There's different business objectives. So how do we set these orgs up to most effectively execute against those business objectives?
Yeah. And like
I kind of,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Ryan, at the risk of exposing myself here, having grown up in farm country and around
the family show.
Not that, yeah. Not,
and happy birthday, man. Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Happy birthday, Ty.
Thank you. So I grew up around grain and grain silos, and there's a thing called bridging, and that bridging is kind of like what we're talking about. It's the mission directive. It's the business, the business goals, and that if they're aligned at the top, the flow of that grain in that grain silo will all end up in the same place, and the point of that bridge is to kind of bring together everybody's goals. And I don't necessarily silos kind of has a terrible connotation. They can be bad, but where all these groups are doing different things. We don't always have to be in the same work streams, but there are ways, there are functions, there are processes you can put in place to bridge those silos. And once they're bridged, the flow is like exponentially better. So just kind of wanted to bring that farming analogy in there for everyone.
That's actually fun. And Tyler, when you come from kind of a different industry too, and now you've come from more utilities and things. When you were working in that, where was it? You were PE, and I can't remember the name of the company. It's the Seattle.
Yeah, Puget Sound Energy.
But Puget Sound, that's right. Well, what I found interesting with that is that it's a little bit different, but it's kind of the problems that you had in that were the same as the ones we were having. We had different teams doing different things. Who was it that you were working with and collaborating the most in your environment?
Yeah, so originally it was like I was working with our support team, and they were just having a ton of issues of basically it was like a lack of content. They're like, we can tell somebody a billion times on the phone or in the chat, like how to do something or how to solve a problem. But, is there anything we can do to get ahead of this? So, how do we deflect all these calls essentially? And then so we started working towards that. Okay, like let's deflect all these calls and take some of that support burden off of you guys. And that worked great. And then I actually uniquely, it was actually in the comments too, where I kind of took a direct line to the executives, like leadership, and said, gave them I kind of built that customer flow, gave them examples of education that really did help us deflect all of that support burden. And what was really interesting about that is they started wanting to produce more of that for themselves and for our external teams. And all of a sudden the light bulb went on of, holy crap, if we can do this, both internally and on an L&D fashion, how do we do this externally? And how do we, capitalize on this as an entire organization? So it was kind of backwards. I went directly to leadership essentially with what we were working on, and they just loved it. And they were the ones that kind of thought, hey, there's multiple avenues we could take with this. So
super cool. So okay, let's take a beat here. It's something I have to do a couple things here just for the sake of the show. One of them is I want to advertise something that I've got going on right now, which is the Customer Education Strategy Workshop. I'm going to share my screen here and show you what this is. Yeah, this is an ad. Sorry, I got to do it. But we are really trying to bring people together to learn. Why can't I share my screen? I can't do it. Here we go.
You got ad blocker on probably.
I got ad blocker on. No, I've
I've
got a Chrome tab right here.
Boom.
Okay. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay. Well, this is one thing I wanted to share, which is, okay, I'll go back and talk about alignment too. So I remembered when we were going into this session, I did a talk at Cognition last year for Thought Industries. And one of the things that my subject was this bridging between enablement and partner training and, all these different teams, and started to think about us as a flywheel. And that what I really love about what all of you have said today, and Ryan, thank you, give you kudos for kicking this off. This idea is that this isn't an easy problem for us to solve, that we are in organizations that are moving a mile a minute. And what I think all of us are saying is one way or another is that we need to coordinate effort. And the role of customer education is bringing together these disparate voices and saying, okay, we got a flywheel here. We need to focus on that customer. And to do that efficiently, this was just my way of thinking of it, where I think, look, when we start, if this was a clock at 12 o'clock midnight, the gong strikes, the bell goes, and product says, hey, we're moving in this direction and we're moving for the next quarter. And these are all the activities that are starting to happen as I am looking as a customer education function, and others in enablement and others in different fields are going, how do we respond to the changes in our product base? And how will those reflect on our people, our partners, and our customers? And that's the whole motion that we have as a unified front to get this knowledge out. And our goal is 0 day, right? Day 0, when all the things drop, or even before that for internal folks, that we're educated on the product, all of us, no matter who we are. And we know what we need to know to be efficient. So the way I was thinking about this is that today, this is like a feeling. Let's say we have 2 enablement teams and a customer education team, just to simplify things. Maybe one of these is partner, one of these is sales, and one of these is us. Today, a lot of the things in companies that I've been in, you have these tracks where it go product 1, product 2, product 3. You know, the red is product 1 or whatever, feature 1, feature 2, feature 3. We would all have to group in and pile in these poor subject matter experts, get the knowledge out, and then go back to our respective corners to learn things, to figure it out, and build our training and education. But what I'm thinking of proposing is that we start to collaborate. So if I work with sales enablement, for example, they might be further upstream, or maybe I'm further upstream from them working with the product team, and maybe we break it up. So, hey, sales enablement, why don't you take this piece? Let's discover the core information that we need to know. And then I'll go do this and you go do that. And then we'll share and we'll templatize that information and then move faster. So you free up time. So that was one of the things that I don't have anything else in my thing, but going back to this kind of a flywheel approach. Any responses to that or thoughts there, like how we collaborate? How would you rather collaborate? Is there better ways to do it? Do we have to make a committee? Do we get a knowledge czar? Do we just have a chief learning officer? I don't know. That's why we brought you all in.
I love committees. I love bringing together people that are excited about, you know, this kind of stuff across the org, and I've seen amazing things happen with that kind of collaboration. So that's a great starting place, I would say, is just find those people that are invested in this type of activities, and just, if you're hanging out doing a happy hour, that's a great start. And you just talk, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I'd also say that like the like subject matter expert is always that person that says like, oh, I don't really know that much. And it turns out that they know everything, but it's just like they so often don't think of that. So sometimes it's about forcing those people into those committees and being like, you're the one doing the work, hop in here. And they might not think that they're the ones that have so much of the answer, but it's like, well, you're touching the work or you're touching the product, so you must know.
Someone made a good comment in the chat around, it depends on, you know, what stage of growth your business is at. But I think there's like, the thing you need to be careful about too is that finding that balance around high quality, high velocity decisions to move and push initiatives and programs forward versus heavy consensus based, pulling everyone into, you know, a bureaucratic decision. Like, there's a delicate balance there, and the bigger you get and the faster you're trying to move, like you gotta weigh that into, you know, how you operate.
Yeah, definitely. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, let's try to exit out and do our goodbye. We're about 10. Oh, we've got 4 minutes left. Oh, before I do that, I did find the thing I wanted to share. Let me go ahead and share my screen. This time, what I'm looking at, I'm promoting a workshop, and for those of you who've been in it, sometimes I have guest stars like some of you folks join. The last episode, the last customer workshop I did, we were joined by Tyler, and Debbie Smith was one of our special guest hosts. What I'm trying to do is bring folks together in very much, you know, all of you on the show, thank you for joining today, because this collaboration about education is the most important thing. We're building a kind of a market on our own. We're defining what this space is, and we're really working within our companies to make customers learn. This workshop that I do right now is 2 days, you know, 3 hours each day, $299 with the discount code. It's normally about $500. And what we're trying to do is help you all think through all of the things that everyone on this show has been talking about today. Who are the other people that you have that you care about? You know, who are the people in the neighborhood? What was that song from Sesame Street, I guess? We want to get connected. We want to understand strategically, how can we collaborate together to move faster? This education workshop will do that. So upcoming one is August 24th. Next one is September 21st. Please join in. I may work very well to have some of you folks in if you can. We do a lot of stuff. We go through the maturity model. I know our folks from Thought Industries are here. We talk about that a lot, and I actually have adopted the platform that you have. And then we go into workshop activities. So we map the entire life cycle of your customer together, and you can bring multiple people in and we work through it, and you get a workbook and you get a guidebook and you get all the stuff. When you walk out, you have a roadmap. And, those of you who've been in it, give me some props, because it's a lot of work on me, but it's a lot of fun. And what makes it go is just like this show. We're all together and we're working out the problems together. I'm a facilitator. I want to hear your problems, and we're going to work to lay it all out. So enough of my spiel. We've got a couple minutes, exactly 2 minutes, and I have to jump off. So we'll wrap up the show. Any last parting thoughts in the couple minutes we have left? Anybody want to shout out, make any announcements? Tell us what you got going on. A cool program that you've just released. What's up?
Ryan, when's the next Hot Takes episode coming out?
Oh, yeah.
Imtiaz Alam gets to feature on next Thursday's episode. So what is that? So it's in August 5th, I think, maybe. Next Thursday, it'll be available completely free. But if you want to put in your email address, we will send the episodes directly to your inbox. Episode 3 is Tyler Foster. Episode 4, David Guillen. Episode 5, MVP. And episode 6, Mikey D.
And I'm just checking on my health insurance before I agree to the. I'm waiting for them to get back to me to make sure that I got this covered. It's like
we don't accept many health insurances on the show. It is.
But my
Brian,
lawyer says I need to be careful with Ryan on this one. That there's some riders on this.
Melissa brought 3 different drinks, I think, to the show, which was a new thing. She brought us all different consistencies. It was water, milk.
It's milk, right? Don't you get milk to shut down the heat?
A smoothie. I had to add some fruit in there to cool down the palate, so I had a smoothie. Yeah, I had it all.
I had my entire Brita filter.
If it wasn't at 10 a.m., I would have had a beer.
That's hilarious. All right.
Yeah, sign up for Hot Takes. Thanks, Dave.
Putting that at the bottom of the show,
there
so you
it
see a
is.
banner.
Woo!
Banner going across.
Banner.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to wrap up now. We're right at the hour. I know we all have meetings. I want to thank all of you immensely for jumping on. Ryan, it was a great topic. We have more of these anytime. That's what this show's about. We really want to connect people in the space, talk about our software, talk about our challenges, work out loud to explore the space we're in. So with that, thank you all for joining in the comments. Those of you who have been really active. This is probably the most activity I've ever seen on this show. Thank you all.
Nice.
This is
great.
This is going on. Like this show stays valid on YouTube, or stays available on YouTube and on LinkedIn Live. So check it out. If you are time traveling, say hello in the comments. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, Al.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Great weekend.